Bird of a bird. Bad.
A euphoric prom date for the ages. Sup, guys? You might remember me from that story about the overpriced corn dogs that caused all your fedoras to burst into a flame that smelled of Doritos and self-shame. That rhyme. It certainly does. I'm back with another tale of horrors as a server in a fancy restaurant. But today, my children, was a special Saturday for teenagers. And of course, a freaking nightmare for servers everywhere. No, it's not a holiday, technically. It's just friggin' prom night. Every server knows that prom night sucks a dong more than John Travolta in a bathhouse. I'm just kidding, not really. Because high schoolers want to take their dates to nice restaurants with mommy and daddy's money in hopes of getting laid. It won't happen, so don't try. You severely underestimate my abilities, OP. Plus, high schoolers do not tip like ever. Sorry, I'm still burnt about it 2 days after the fact. Anyways, I'm on my phone, so spelling and whatever, blah blah blah. On to our tale. Your jaded hero, Swolby-Wan Kenobi here. Clocked on to a normal starting Saturday night in my fancy restaurant that I bartend/serve at, and today was an unlucky serving shift. Everything seemed fine until the first prom couple showed up. A groan of, "Oh God, it's prom night," filled the kitchen. So fast forward to about midway through my shift, I've been lucky to have no prom kids yet. And then I'm walking back to the kitchen and I see our glorious specimen in all his euphoric glow. It might have just been the smell of Nautica quote-unquote cologne drenching his clothes that was radiating off of him, but I like to think that it was a palpable aura of euphoria. God, I remember wearing Nautica cologne back in like 7th grade. This is hilarious. This gentle sir was a standard 5'7"-ish and probably about 210 pounds, give or take a bag of Doritos or two, with red hair that burned brighter than a basement dweller's cheeks being kissed by the sun for the very first time, and a neck beard that was just as fiery as the hair on his head. He was dressed as dapper, I guess, as a neckbeard could have been dressed. So basically just fedora and sports jacket that he's currently sweating through. An ill-fitting button-up that looked like it was able to fit him maybe about 3 years ago. Sleeves rolled up in the laziest fashion. A gray vest whose buttons were holding on for dear life. Mismatched slacks that had no business seeing the light of day, honestly. And some old Converse that had seen much, much better days. No jacket, no hat. A gentleman this is not, as if we didn't already know. I see a small girl being dragged in behind him in a prom dress. She seemed like a nice girl that, I don't know, lost a bet or something. Or she just didn't know how to say no when someone of such grace asked her to prom. I'm guessing it is the latter, and bless her heart, honestly. He's gonna hold on to this memory for decades, whether you want him to or not. As I'm looking in awe at this couple, I notice that they turn towards my section. No. Don't you freaking do it. Closer. I swear to God, don't you do it. Even closer. Son of a... Hostess, does this seat seem okay to you guys? Go ahead, do it. They're seated and the hostess walks back to the front, not even really knowing what she has done. I walk over and put on my best fake smile and greet them with some bread. Hi, welcome to Restaurant Name. I'm OP and I'll be your server. Can I get Neckbeard?
Do you have any more bread? I love this bread.
You don't need more bread, you've been cut off. OP says, yeah, I do. I'll get you some. How about some drinks? We have Pepsi products. Now, here's the best part. For some reason, my restaurant does have Mountain Dew. It's a Pepsi product. I wish I could make this up, but we really do have it. And we all use it to judge our tables because we know if they order the glorious dew, we are getting an absolute garbage tip. OP. Yeah, like I said, we have Pepsi products. So Pepsi, root beer, Mountain Dew, Dr. Pepper, etc., etc. Please pick the dew so you could be a stereotype. Please, please, please. It's a weird thing to want, but okay. Neckbeard instead says,
I'll have a Dr. Pepper.
oh, so close. We did a poll a long time back. Dr. Pepper did come in second or third for Neckbeardiest energy drink. I think third, below Red Bull and Monster. Yeah. Anyways, Neckbeard continues,
And the lady will have a water.
oh my god, he said the lady. So I walk to the kitchen just angry as hell, cussing and wishing death on all humanity for putting me in this situation. I come back with like half a loaf of bread and the drinks to see that he has already inhaled the first half a loaf. I set the drinks down and the bread and I go over our menu for them, and just by the look on the girl's face and her posture, she totally lost a bet and had to be here. Or the Neckbeard's mom called up her mom and set this whole thing up.
Now you have to go out with that nice Neckbeard boy.
Kind of reminds me of the Short Saga. We should boot that one back up. Our restaurant is known for having amazing steaks. We are a 4-star restaurant and we're ranked in the state. So our meat is thick and juicy and it tastes great. So, of course, our gentle sir gets the cheapest entree on our menu. No, not the corn dog. It's a mushroom chicken breast covered in a whiskey sauce with some freedom fries. While the lady got herself a Caesar salad. Did she get herself that, or did the Neckbeard pick that for her again? Terrifying. I pretty much ignored them till their food came up because I'm not gonna work my butt off for a loss because of their table. Their food comes up and I'm carrying it over to the table, and I got the end of this wonderful sentence.
The Overwatch beta was probably the best thing I've ever had the chance to play. We should play on Xbox Live, you know, once the game is, like, actually released.
No thanks, I'd rather shove an ice pick in my nose. Now I saw the look on this girl's face, and I could tell she wanted to run head first into traffic. I drop off their food and retreat to the kitchen and just watch them from afar, as he would do to his love interest during his lunch periods at school. This kid had no freaking dinner manners. Chewing with his mouth open, talking with food in his mouth, being loud as heck, and of course not using his utensils. Not using his utensils on a mushroom chicken breast? What an animal. Finally, after that horror movie called Dinner, I don't even bother showing them our dessert tray. I just dropped the check and the total ended up being about 40 bucks. They pay cash and leave it in the checkbook, and as they're leaving, I go to swoop in on the book. I check the amount, $32 and change. Not even enough to cover the bill. Now it's time to have some fun. I love it when people try to skip out on checks because I get to publicly embarrass them about not having enough money. Yeah, what's wrong? Are you poor or something? Sell more hours of your life. Sleep 3 hours a day is fine. They make it to the full lobby before I catch up to them. OP says, hey, you guys are actually about $7 short on your check. Neckbeard,
Oh, yeah, sorry about that. I got more in my mommy's car.
he did not say mommy. But I love that OP threw that in. OP just says, all right, well, one of you will need to stay here while the other gets the money so you don't skip out on the bill. I say this rather loudly. Neckbeard says,
Do you think I would do something like that?
I don't know you from Bob, dude. What are you talking about? Do I have reason to believe that you wouldn't? No, I don't. You just tried to stiff me on the check. All right, whatever. OP just says, I'm just doing my job. So she could stay here while you go get the money. He's gonna ditch her. He turns out the door, goes to the car, and starts to look for money while his date comes over to the hostess stand where I'm waiting and starts apologizing for all this, and I tell her not to worry about it. Then our nice guy Neckbeard whatever comes back with a panicked look on his face. Neckbeard,
I actually only have change, so here you go.
and he proceeds to hand me a handful of coins and turns to leave. OP, hold on. You have to stay here while I count this out. It ends up being about $4, so he's still $3 short. So I let him know, and at this point, I'm about ready to snap on him so badly that not one spell he could mutter would save him. Wait, this guy knows spells? Oh, because he's a wizard. No, he's not old enough to be a wizard. You have to be a 30-year-old virgin to become a wizard. Or is it 40? The deep lore's been lost to the sands of time. OP says, hey man, you're still short $3. Do you not have it or something? Neckbeard,
Are you sure? I counted it out, and your tip is in there.
OP, no, you're still short. And it sounds like you're trying to skip out on the check. Neckbeard,
I would never try to.
his date steps in and hands me $5. You've been holding on to $5 this whole time. She apologizes for all this and I thank her. She turns and storms out of the restaurant and our Neckbeard sulks out behind her. His shots of getting laid were impossible to begin with, but now he was permabanned from any glimmer of hope. The rest of my night was pretty chill. Had a couple other prom kids that couldn't tip either, but all the other tables hooked it up. And I did get this great $2 tip and a story out of it, so oh well. Yeah, Reddit karma, that's gotta count for something. Did I sound like a jerk? Probably, but I hate prom nights so much, and this Necky pissed me off to the point that I just don't care. I hope she made it out of prom alive and was able to fully run to a different country before school today. Swole be one, out. Kind of a cool crossover from Tales from Your Server or something like that. I mean, they're high school kids, you know, they definitely don't have money. The dude did seem sort of gross, but not like outright disrespectful. So I could have seen being like, okay, $3, like I'll cover it. You know what I mean? Pull it out of my tips. That's fine. Go enjoy your date. Be kids. Be young. Have fun. It's crazy, sexy, cool. But it just seems to be like OP was, you know, out to get this kid from the beginning just because he doesn't like prom night. I don't know. I don't think anybody was egregiously wrong in this story. Just an awkward interaction, and sometimes those are just fine. Let's see what we got for the next story. How about that? Neckbeard I knew from childhood tries to date me twice. So this is my first time and hopefully my last time posting here. My story isn't exactly exciting, but it does have some cringiness to it. That's what we're here for. The whole event happened a year after I started college, TLDR at the end. So the people in the story, D is the Neckbeard, we're gonna call him Neckbeard. G is my boyfriend, we're gonna call him Greg. And OP is Kitty. So, Neckbeard was a guy that I knew from childhood. My dad and his dad were friends. I hadn't seen him since I was in elementary school, and looking back on those memories, he was already kind of Neckbeard-like. I think most kids are, right? Just kind of dirty, not very self-aware. He was at least 5 or so years older than me. Oh, Jesus. When I was a kid, he would act like he was better than everyone at anything, especially video games. I hung out with him because he had gaming systems, and I didn't really have many friends myself back then. When he got older, he grew a sparse beard, always smelled like stale food and sweat, and he had a big gut despite his stick frame. Oh, that's unfortunate. He had been touchy-feely even when we were kids, but once he got older, it worsened. Oh God, I hate this. Already, I feel my spine just jackhammering into itself. Okay, but now they're older. We meet up again about a year after I started college. Apparently, he worked near the area of my campus and would ride the same bus as me. At this time, I hadn't met my boyfriend, Greg. Neckbeard and I still had a lot in common, like anime and video games, etc. I wasn't really looking for any sort of relationship, but I also wasn't turning any down either. So we friended each other on Skype, and I mentioned how I like to RP with my friend from high school. No, don't open that door. He says,
we should RP too.
and I agree. Oh, it's unfortunate. Immediately as the RP begins, he tries to get our characters to bang. After a week, I just sort of stopped RPing with him. It took you a full week? This is unfortunate. At some point, he starts begging for photos over Skype. At this point in time, I didn't have a cell phone. I initially refused and then ended up sending him one photo of my chest. That's all I sent. It felt weird because I just really couldn't find him attractive. Yes, but you sent him a humble crumb of noodles, yes. That was very generous of you, OP. Probably, again, sending the wrong message, but very generous. After a few more weeks, I decided to end whatever it is that we had. I tried to let him down as gently as I could. It went sort of like this. OP, hey, I know you're interested in me and everything, but I don't think that we should date. Not because I hate you or something, I just really don't feel like we click. Neckbeard,
What the hell, kitty? I thought we had a connection. You even sent me a picture of your... Why would you do that if you didn't like me?
I mean, I kind of lean towards that. OP, yeah, I did send you that pic, but only after you begged me for one. It's just a picture and it doesn't really matter. Neckbeard,
Yeah, but you seemed like you were so into me, and now you're not. What a...
After that, he stopped messaging me and I stopped messaging him. It was awkward on the bus until he stopped getting on. I don't know why. I do, it's because he couldn't get off, right? Ha ha! He was probably stalking OP this whole time. Honestly, I probably should have let him down better, but I could be kind of blunt without knowing it. I mean, the best way to let him down is to not lift him up in the first place, but I live and learn, you know? A couple of months after all this, I met Greg. Now, Greg, my boyfriend, might seem like a neckbeard at first glance. He's overweight, as am I, actually. He has a scruffy, not dirty, beard, and he has acne. However, he smelled nice, and he was a great person. When we started hanging out, I realized he was just unfortunately greasy and sweaty. But you could see past that, you know? So that tells me that that's not the reason that you turned down the neckbeard. He was ugly inside. All right, I can rest easy knowing all this. Greg had a stable job, a car, and he rented a room at his dad's house at the time. He made a point to shower often and to do his laundry. Compared to my other options, he was heaven sent. We instantly fell in love, and we still are. Hey, congratulations. I know. How does Neckbeard fit into all this? Well, fast forward a couple of years. Greg and I are in a strong relationship. I've transferred from a community college to a university, and we see each other often. A note for this is, at that time, I don't have my driver's license for various reasons. So Greg would pick me up, spend time with me, and drop me back off at home. Greg also got me a cell phone so that we could message each other. Bro, Greg out here doing the most. Props to that dude. Well, Neckbeard tried to reach out again, this time on Facebook. He messaged me asking about my life, yada yada yada. I told him I was good and in a relationship. He congratulated me, but I could tell he was a little miffed. However, he still tried to flirt. You see, on Facebook, Greg and I have an open relationship. Mainly because Greg and I don't mind adding another person or more for a night. Neckbeard thought this meant that he could get some. I reminded him that I wasn't interested in him and that we can be friends. I closed the door for friendship too, honestly. He agreed and invited me to do stuff with him now that he has a car. Another note is that he gave a sob story about how his other car crashed and how he really loved that car. Man, it crashed all by itself? That's super weird. I shrugged it off and said, that sucks. But he would mention it constantly, like obsessively. I agreed to meet up with him and pick two non-romantic, family-friendly things, the zoo and the art museum. Yeah, those are friendly sorts of things that friends might do. But even then, after the history you have with this dude, I don't know if you should actually agree. These are two things that I love, but were also very public, so Neckbeard couldn't try anything. Honestly, I should have just said no. Yeah, next time, do that. So he picks me up and he's wearing cargo shorts, an old t-shirt, and a fedora. I wanted to say something, but I didn't. First is the zoo, where I take plenty of pictures of the animals. He makes comments like,
I guess it's cute. And should we take a 2-person boat ride?
oh, that's where he's gonna try to seal the deal, isn't it? I rolled my eyes at the second suggestion and had fun feeding the llamas and the goats. He would also try to touch my hand while we walked around, and he tried to get closer to me. I would pull away and act like I was taking a picture. As we sat down and enjoyed some ice cream, he began making crude comments.
I like the way you lick that spoon.
And
I wish I could eat out right now.
God, ugh. And let me guess, you're gonna go to the art museum even after all this. Why are you doing this to yourself, OP? Help me to help you. Just when you think she's out, they pull her back in. It's driving me nuts. I was like, dude, stop. We're just friends. I have a boyfriend and I'm not comfortable with that kind of talk from you. He started pouting but didn't say anything. He usually did this when we were kids to try and make me feel guilty. Now you're probably wondering if I ended everything then and there. I kinda got a beat on you, OP. And I know that the answer is nope. I wanted to go see the art museum, and I'll be damned if some creep was gonna stop me. You could leave him behind and go to the art museum, you know? So we went to the museum, which was only like 100 feet away. They're really close. Oh, maybe then it is harder to ditch him. And that day was the first Thursday, which meant that it was free admission the whole day. Love that. My main objective is to take in the artwork. I grew up with an artist as a mom, so art is something that I love. I walked every corridor and examined every piece. He followed behind, but didn't seem interested. He would try to talk to me about the different pieces, but it was obvious he didn't really like art. Well, not abstract art, at least. As I finished, I passed by the donation box and I put a few dollars inside. Neckbeard.
Why are you doing that?
OP, because I want to support the art museum. It gave me a weird look like I was doing something idiotic. It confused me because if you like something, shouldn't you want to support it? I mean, yeah, you should, but he doesn't like it, so maybe he is confused legitimately. Anyways, as we're leaving, I get a phone call, and it was Greg. He got off work early and wanted to pick me up. I said, I was with my friend, but we were headed back to the house now anyway, so he could meet me there. Neckbeard was curious about the call, and I told him that it was Greg. I was so happy that he was picking me up. I was beaming. Neckbeard was immediately upset, but didn't say anything. Again, trying to make me feel guilty. And we let him think we don't like it. Just keep him sulking, then he never has to talk. On the ride back to my house, Neckbeard and I spoke very little. I knew I wasn't gonna agree on another meetup with him. He didn't stick around to meet Greg, although I thought he would've. And he only messaged me a couple of times after that. I told Greg all about it and how awkward it was, and we laughed about it later. TLDR, Neckbeard from childhood tries to date me 2 different times, gives up, I hope, after the second time when he realizes he can never replace my boyfriend. And that is probably the main reason that he didn't stick around to try and out-alpha Greg. He was already out-alpha'd from a distance. Obviously this chick, yeah, she's not interested. She was sending some mixed signals at the beginning, but when she met Greg, decided on what she really wants, yeah, she tried to push the Neckbeard out. And in his defense, I mean, he did seem to take at least that in stride. Didn't try to message her again, he just took the L and walked away, which is absolutely fine. Like, what's the worst thing that he did here? I guess ice cream innuendo, that was pretty cringe. But I don't know, he's like 2-person boat ride and doesn't really like the art museum. Not a great date, but it could have definitely been a lot more disastrous than it was. which part of me is grateful for, but the cringe-seeking part of my brain is like, I need more. I need more. Feed me chaos. Maybe we'll find it in the next story, so let's hop on over there right now. Big neckbeard dong energy, or how my depression led me to date the worst person ever. What? I met Greg, oh no! Through OkCupid. I did not plan this out, dude. It's not the same Greg, I promise. I messaged him first. I hadn't had much luck with the service, as I was nerdy, fat, and a woman of color in a city that was mostly white. The few dates I went on ranged from extremely bad to disappointing. There's a stereotype that fat women are easy because they're desperate and no one will date them, and the dates that I had truly believed that. I thought it was that fat women give the best head because they're always hungry. Unfortunately for all of those dates, I wasn't just fat, I was also socially awkward and in the middle of an episode of depression. Well, it sounds like you probably should be working on yourself and not dating, but okay. Sex wasn't something that I had easily. I shouldn't have been dating at all. Okay, good. But my mental health was horrible, so bad decisions were constantly made. You know, I like this OP a lot. Acknowledgement, that's all I want, little acknowledgement. When I messaged Greg, part of me was hopeful that this time would be different as I was the one being proactive, but after a few phone calls on our first date, it was clear that Greg checked off the same boxes as the previous guy and also even exceeded them. I can confidently say he was the worst person I have ever dated. I should have ended things after the first date, but I thought that I didn't deserve better. Depression is a real... Feel that, OP. Preach. I dated Greg for about 2 months. Since this was a few years ago, some things are fuzzy, but here are some of the biggest standouts from my time with him. He was a big gatekeeper for his interests. All television shows and movies that had any sort of romance, no matter how small, it was garbage. That's why he only watched Top Gear and QI. Those two shows were the height of intelligent entertainment. At least, according to him. I don't know either of those shows. I don't really care too much for intelligent entertainment either. Catch me out here watching reruns of Married with Children. One of his hobbies was fixing old watches. The first time I visited his house, he wanted me to watch him fix that watch. And it was fine for the first half hour. One of my favorite shows is How Do They Do It? And this was kind of like a real life version. After the third hour had passed though, I hinted that maybe we should do something else. And he had a meltdown because I wasn't being supportive. Is this how I want to spend my life? I'm glad you're having fun there, Greg, but please realize that you're wasting my time right now. He was the classic definition of someone who is, I am very smart. He was the smartest man on the planet, but no one recognized it. He once told me his plans for building a mechanical muscle, and the reason why he hadn't built it was because it would have to be as big as a room to work. Nobody else would be able to build it correctly. That's how I know that Boston Dynamics is using magic for their robots. Boston Dynamics also uses their dogs for mobile weapons platforms. He was also big about debating with logic, without any emotion, which meant him getting angrier about me having an opinion or stating a fact that he didn't agree with, saying that I had brought emotion into it. Oh God, dude. Is it because she's a woman, she's just inherently emotional? This is a fact, there's no emotion in it. Then Greg would hang up on me and then call back asking if now I could discuss things in a logical manner. One of the times he did this is when I said him saying that homosexuality is gross is an opinion and not a fact. Oh, so he just doesn't really understand what facts are. He referred to kissing as smooching and women as gals. God, I gave him the wrong voice the whole time. Let's go down to the local malt shop. Visit my old friend, the soda jerk. I don't remember the rest, but there were some other words that he would use that struck me very weird to hear a man that was almost 30 use. We had fisticuffs and I cauliflowered his ear, man. Although Greg did have decent hygiene, he lived like he was on an episode of Hoarders. Absolutely freaking disgusting house with a bird that just kind of crapped everywhere. No sign of cleaning supplies to be found. Huge holes in the walls. Old fast food wrappers. And it was just full of all this grimy junk that he had found. I only visited his place twice. First visit, I spent the night and didn't want to sleep because I was stressed out by how dirty it was. Oh God! You can leave in the middle. You don't need to say yes to a second date, please. This is too wild. After I left, I made excuses to keep from going back. After he had gave me a huge guilt trip, I made my last visit, seeing the same food containers that we ate from a month earlier. Sitting right where he had left them, I had an epic panic attack that led to us breaking up. Good, good, put that out of his misery. He had several external terabyte hard drives of nothing but adult content. I questioned why he needed to store so many explicit videos. Now look, I'm not against those type of videos. I just didn't understand why he needed so much of it.
Different girl every night, babe. High five.
He's coon-brained. Terminally online and has no sugars left inside his head to make his brain operate. He shot them all out into a rag. He said
it was just easy access to his favorite scenes.
You got favorite scenes? Bruh, ugh. I'm gonna be real with you right now. I am against it. Fix your life up first, at least. Recently, it hit me that the real answer was more likely that it wasn't quite legal stuff, because he was really weird about banging. He told me that he had anal with an ex by pouring cooking oil all over her head while she was cooking on the stove and then
put it up her butt.
I don't know how that worked, but I guess points for trying to lube her up. What? Cooking oil? Like, was it used? Was it hot? I got a lot of questions. While we're on topic, I did sleep with Greg 3 times.
Oh man, OP, I feel so bad.
He bragged about having a huge dog, and surprisingly he was truthful, but having a big pork sword means nothing if you have no clue what to do with it. I should have known after the other discussion what I was in for. Greg only know how to do 2 things, jackhammer or spread starfish while I did all the work on top. He did attempt to do foreplay by doing this helicopter dong thing before getting into bed. Yeah, we all know that one. A grown man wearing nothing but an oversized t-shirt, shaking his dong to turn on a gal. And I'm not making this up because I am not that creative. I think they call it a Winnie the Pooh. Oh, bother. The relationship ended after I relented to his guilt trip and agreed to visit his trash house again. This was after I had worked a few 80-plus hour weeks and I was exhausted. He didn't want to come pick me up, knowing that I didn't have a car at the time because he hated driving in the city that I lived in. I spent 45 minutes on the bus, only to be greeted with him sulking about the bus being late. Bro, she works an 80-hour week, rides 45 minutes on the bus just because you're being pouty about not getting to see her, and also he doesn't want to come pick you up? This chick is ride or die. She's down as hell. I hope you found somebody that deserved you by now, OP. Jesus. It was at this point that OP loses it. I had one of the most meltiest of meltdowns. I told him how disgusting his house was and how he should be ashamed of himself. He broke up with me
for being too emotional
and drove me home. You didn't even get to break up with him? Please tell it the other way around. That's way more poetic.
But wait, there's more.
Still having the self-esteem of his house, if it was a person, I kept talking to him over the phone as we had agreed to just be friends. He also brought up that
He would be willing to see if we could date again, if I could get a handle on my emotions.
oh, be still, my beating heart. After 2 weeks of the same old crap, I was done. The last time I talked to him, he called at 11 p.m. This is after I had texted him that I was too tired to talk and I had to be up early for work. He calls anyways because he got upset about how a cop had yelled at him for helping while the officer was investigating a theft. I mean, contaminating a crime scene is helping the criminals. And he goes on a rant about how
unappreciative and rude the world is, and he's the only polite person left.
I responded that he was just lucky he didn't get arrested because interfering with an officer on duty is a crime. He says,
you're just like everyone else.
He rants some more, and then we get onto the topic of The Simpsons. I tell him I stopped watching it regularly in the early 2000s, and I preferred the first 10 seasons. That's the correct answer. He called me
juvenile
and hung up on me. Bro, for somebody who talks about not having emotion and attacking things with logic, you should hang up on people a lot. In that moment, I realized that I need to get help for my depression because I had finally hit my rock bottom. This dude was absolute freaking trash, just like his house. I didn't wait for him to call back. I dialed his number, and when he picked up, I was about to say we shouldn't be friends anymore, but all I could manage to do is laugh. He called me, and hung up. He followed soon after with an email saying,
to never contact him again.
Oh, he got you twice! You didn't get to break up with him even once! I'm so upset. I don't know what happened to him other than seeing his OkCupid profile a year or two later saying that he thought his future partner wouldn't be able to speak English and he was ready to meet her now that his mom was dead. That is a wild ending to a very wild ride. Honestly, out of the 3 stories we read so far, this OP is my favorite by far. Yeah, you went to some dark places, but you're very self-aware about it now, you know? Hindsight's 2020, you learned some hard lessons, and now we're moving on. And 4 years after the initial post, I hope that you're moving on to the relationship that you deserve. Like I said, you definitely deserve better than whatever the hell this was supposed to be. Let's get another story. How about that? I will see how it goes. How I ended up on a date with a guy who wears a fedora. A cautionary tale. Gosh, we've seen a lot of those today. I'm sure this one's gonna be different. Now, before I begin, I just want to say I am very forgiving when it comes to the opposite sex and their choice of attire. I'll let you get away with your checkered shorts and your flip-flops and jeans, even cargo pants, but I'm sorry. A pinstriped fedora is where I draw the line.
How about fingerless gloves, m'lady?
It's not so much the fashion choice as it is what I feel it represents, besides a man who is obviously clueless. A fedora-wearing man is the type of man who, more likely than not, read the book The Pickup Artist, whose majority of mature encounters were acquired via sympathy, who emotionally manipulates and intellectually condescends. Neckbeards. These are the men who wear fedoras. Don't forget the nice guys. And this isn't the first time that I've been fooled by one of these men, so I thought I might share my experience to advise other women to not make my mistake. Maybe even to stop a man from being this person. Well, hope beyond hope, but neckbeards are nothing if not stubborn. So I met this person at a work event. We had a connection over our shared adoration for comic books. So he ended up asking me out. And yes, we went out. And he did not wear the fedora that night. Though I like to think he tried it on and looked in the mirror and thought to himself,
nah, I'ma hold this baby back and save it for date number 2.
Well, there was no date number 2. So you never got to actually see the fedora? You just saw the fed-ora? You saw the neckbeard on the inside? This time to get out? So, leading into our date, most of our communication was in GIF format. Red flag 1. I thought the comic books were red flag 1, but alright. Agree to disagree. Don't get me wrong, I love communicating via GIFs. It's hilarious, but I'm not sure what it says about misogynist good guys. You know, the kind that claim good guys can never win, who communicate through GIFs almost exclusively. No, nice guys are the bad guys, and good guys are the good guys. And cool dudes, hey, that's everybody watching this video. If you made it this far into the video, you probably should subscribe. We're most of the way done already. I appreciate you. Anyway, OP questions why these guys have overlapping qualities, like wearing fedoras, or reading a lot of comics, or watching a lot of sci-fi, or going on Reddit, or being white males. You cut me real deep there, you know? Am I allowed to buy a fedora ironically? So of course, dude shows up late, and we begin our discussion of comics and sci-fi, and we have a cute moment over Firefly. One day it'll be back on the air. Yeah, hope floats. He began talking to me as though I had never read a comic book or seen any of the movies that I had seen. And for the first time in my life, I experienced textbook mansplaining. Bro, you just dropped mansplaining in there. First white males and now mansplaining. I think I got I got a clock on OP. I see where you're coming from. Anyways, this is red flag number 2 or 3 by my count. I tried to be tolerant and understand that sometimes people aren't aware of what they're doing. I had to verbally tell him twice that he was mansplaining before he even heard me. He seemed completely unfazed by this. I figured maybe he's just trying to impress me. Shortly, he mansplained again. Can we stop saying it, dude? We can say like he explained in a condescending fashion, and we only really need to say it once. The constant buzzword shoehorning is way more cringy than anything that's happened in the story thus far. Essentially, they just communicated with GIFs, right? So shortly, he mansplained again to the communications major, that's me, why people behave the way they do, and that it has more to do with social setting than someone's personality, as though that was a concept that I would be entirely unfamiliar with. Okay, you have a degree. I presume he doesn't think that most people have that degree. Whatever, man. Maybe subconsciously, I was starting to pick up on some hints. And somehow we ended up on the topic of Donald Trump. Oh, and this is from 4 years ago. This is perfect. I learned that he wasn't a supporter, per se. I assume he at least had the intelligence to recognize his audience, but he was a sympathizer, and explained how he felt that Hillary was obviously a terrible choice. Eye roll emoji, red flag number 3. Opie really said all this without a hint of irony. Jesus. What? The night ended, and this man asked me no questions about myself. It hit me that if this person was even interested in me, it wasn't my personality, because he learned virtually nothing about me. I'm gonna bet that even if he gave you the opportunity to talk about yourself, you wouldn't have, because you're like, all he's gonna do is mansplain and not vote for Hillary. Oh, I don't know, man. So I dodged the next few dates, and I figure eventually he'll get the hint. Well, he doesn't. Next time I see him is where it all comes together. My vag nearly sealed itself entirely when I saw it. And any microscopic part of me that may have still considered giving this guy a chance died instantaneously at the mere sight of it, like a bolt of lightning. I'm exiting a work party, and then I see him, a 36-year-old man in all his glory, sporting a pinstripe fedora, tilted ever so slightly to the side. The final piece that was missing this whole time. He's a goddamn neckbeard, I thought. It was all so clear now. He's a poorly dressed, mansplaining, Trump-sympathizing neckbeard. I don't know, OP, those are the living glass houses, you know? Maybe go buy a cat. I confronted him, truly feeling like A, I could help him, and B, that I could not allow him to do that to himself without at least knowing. So I told him, "You're better than that." And he said,
You don't like the fedora?
I repeated, "You're better than that." He said,
Oh, come on. It's my party hat.
It's just an expression. You don't need an actual hat. I could not restrain the pure disgust as I left his presence forever with no desire of looking back. He wasn't better than the fedora. He wasn't. So to all the men out there who think fedoras are cool, they're not. I won't have a political debate over the rest. Yeah, I think that's because that's a battle that you're ill-equipped for. Don't tell me that I should have considered him despite all this. If I don't want to date somebody, that's my choice. I don't hate this person. It's just clear to me that the only thing we have in common is our interest in nerdy things. And I thought it was comical how I ended up on a date with someone who I would otherwise never consider. Call that what you will. Fedora or not, it was doomed. And you're welcome to have your own thoughts on all these things, but by all means, please make it more obvious so it's easier for us to avoid you. I'm gonna go ahead and call that a two-way street. I'm not trying to get involved with OP in any way whatsoever. The comments section is just like an absolute dumpster fire on this post. Usually I don't read the comments, but OP is getting lambasted, dude. It seems to me like OP feels she's way more clever than she actually is, and it could be Mr. Neckbeard that dodged a bullet in this case. I try not to pick sides, you know? Politically, I don't care about any of that. But sometimes you just see some stuff and you're like, that ain't right. Try and be like a little more cool and respectful to your fellow man or woman. I don't want to be out here mansplaining nothing. I think that's about all we have time or energy for today, but thank you guys so much. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, all those things. Check out the links in the description. Follow me on all the stuff. And of course, I'd like to thank my channel supporters. We got YouTube memberships. You can hit that little join button at the bottom right of the video. We've also got Patreon patrons, and I'd like to thank them all, as I do once a week. So thank you to JC, me Eddie Esu Jetty. Just video watching, Amelia Hannon, Mute, Abe Wells, That One Gay Cop, Valley-Eyed Crane, Glitching Out Gaming, Selwyn666, Samantha, or Gaming Steve, Vladimir Dragunov, Sean Cantwell, John Endors, Train Boy, Shiza, Angel Dark, Bedazzled Misery, Skylar Rain, The Fez Wearer, Heaven Sent 777, Robert Thibodeau, Grimm's Tribe, Tooth Plushy, Corey Arts, Florentic Waver, Dungeon Bat, Billy D, Robert Waits, Brandon Ashcraft, Phantom Danica, Skylar Morningstar, The Gypsy Barber, Fire Drake, and Death's Flagship. Heading over to Patreon, we got Ms. Black, Harley Owen, Robert Allen Waits, Camille Sarah, Don Draker Break, that's backwards, Fluxer, told my boss to go take a flying fork and a rolling donut, I'm free, congratulations. Captain Cloud Jerry, Hong Kong, Ellipses, or Gamey Steve, Santa Jerry, Silent Revolver, Zathras 28, Jerry! That's the original Jerry. 211 Jerry, Zarfar Barcar, Destiny Piper, Jerish Kitsune, and Frankenberry. Ain't that a hot bitch though? Assassin Pug Jerry, Baby Jerry, Bailey Joy, Billy D, Bitch Gremlin, Blade the Hero, Chance of Blue Kraken, Chef Dan is lame. Are you sure though? Commander J Tank, Daddy Saggy Baggy. Oh God. No. Dirty Little Jerry, Dr. Larks, Dial, Aaron Era, Erratic Mechanic, Eastbars 50, Frozen Never Studios, Fire Drake, Gizmo Jack, Hadrian BR, Irish Pirate, Iron Hollow, Irradiated Jam, JM Coon, Jerry Smith, Jerry Blacktail, Jukebox Jerry, Cuddly Kraken, Lady Italian Greyhound Dino, Lady in Awakening, Lauren Crow, Legitimate Girth, Lord Jerry O, leader of the Thunder Jerrys. Lukovic was a race car driver. He was a good friend of mine. Never did win that checker flag, but I helped him drink his wine. Oh, yeah. Like and subscribe. Lady Dix, Mad Monk, Melgar the Destroyer, Meta Facta, Needless King 89, Phantom of the Pines, Jerrykins and Jerry Beths, Sarita the Lolita, Scarlet's Coven, Sergeant Gay Cop again. Silo Imp, Stephanie Gooder, Storm Jerry. Synaptic Boomstick, Taco Mao, Tamago, the Gypsy Barber, the Littlest Who, what you fusky? This isn't even my final beard. Try to find another marble to get back to the real world. Vanguard Angel VC3, Viking Jerry, Vladimir Dragunov, Wiki Tag, Comrade Mooney, Kira, Not Another Jerry, Cage Alex 9, Redwind, Bad Penny Lane, Carcass, Naga Viper, Third Step, Venom Jerry, Jace Christensen, One Leg Jerry is returned from battle, a normal Jerry, my landlord's a Chad, that explains the basement gym. Emperor Alder, another stupid hipster, Atomic Jerryzilla, Breaker of the Tom Army, Bartender Keelia, Big Dad Wolf, Broken Spine Horseradish, Coagular, Cake Jerry, that's a different Jerry, California Jerry Girl, Chikara the Panda, Corey does commissions now, Crib Titties, Defon Jerry, Def Tuna, Deku, Dwarfy Dude, Jerry, Boo's Daughter, Ghost of Alpha, Green Jerry Ranger, Greymon 365, Half Slavic Jerry in a tracksuit, Heek Not, Hydra Jerry Solmond, Janitor Jerry, I can't think of anything funny right now, Jeffrey, that's funny. Geraldo Rivia, Jerry but with 2 S's and a E, Jerry Springer, the results are in, you are not the neckbeard, Jerry the sussy baka, Jerry's mom has got it going on, Jerry Roxers, Jerry role-playing game, Kid Marvelous, defender of the innocent, enemy to the bearded. Well, you like an anti-hero or something? Kid's a kid, but Chiacini, maybe next time, Miss Duchess, Mr. Gasmask, Not Invisible Angel, Raptor, Seldom Dark, Snary, Spoonie the Rogue, Spoopy, Scary, Jerryton, Techno Dubs, they call me Jerry Two Knives.
This is purely a mercantile transaction.
To Infinite Jerry and beyond, Tokyo Bird, Trooper 582, Unkale, Vaughn, you are loved, you worthy, you definitely deserve
a Coors Light, proud sponsor of ReddX, cringe responsibly.
It gets me every time. Throws Dooley a Mountain Dew.
Grow, my neckbeard, grow!
It's Jerry time, holds ReddX Morpher. Hygiene, it's Jerry time, holds ReddX Morpher. Humility, and of course, thank you to my $1 patrons as well. Beautiful people that they are, helping to keep the channel afloat all the time. Please support if you're able, and whether you can or not. That's all right. I'm just glad you came through. Please always remember, friends, that you are loved, you are worthy. You definitely deserve it, and I shall see you in the next one. So until then, friends, bye-bye.